Do you know what unites almost all cultures and all languages in the world? The love and passion that people have when they complain about the weather. And this is true for every culture, at least every culture I know. Whatever the weather is, there is almost always something to dislike and complain about. You may not believe it, but in Eastern Europe, and I know what I'm talking about, in Eastern Europe, during winter, people can complain that it is not cold enough. It is perhaps similar when people in the UK say that there is not enough rain this year. Today is the last day of Sukkot, the festival when Jews spend time in temporary fragile tents and prepare 4 species of lulav and etrog and celebrate this joyful festival for 7 days. The moment we finish Sukkot, the Torah instructs us to have another festival. Immediately, the day after. This festival is called Shmini Atzeret. So what is it? How does one celebrate Shmini Atzeret? The Torah explicitly mentions Shmini Atzeret 3 times. All in the context of Sukkot. All in the context that you need to have another day after Sukkot. It doesn't say much about this day, much else. Only 2 observances are specified about Shmini Atzeret. One relates to the temple service and sacrifices, and that's not relevant for modern Jews. Not only on ideological basis, but also on the simple fact that there is no temple. Even if we wanted, we couldn't do it. The other one simply says that you should have a day of rest and restraint from any labor. Not much is known about this festival. In the books of prophets and writings, you may think that there is more about this festival, but no, not many mentions of Shmini Atzeret either. The mention is limited to saying that this should be, and they use a Hebrew word, Atzeret. The Atzeret was held on the 8th day after the first day of Sukkot. The same word, Atzeret, is used to describe this day on the book of Vayikra, Leviticus. On the 8th day, you shall observe a sacred occasion and bring an offering by fire to the Eternal One. It is an Atzeret. You shall not work at your occupations. So, again, we don't know much about this day. Therefore, rabbis invented another festival, Simchat Torah, and deliberately introduced it on the same day as Shmini Atzeret. We will celebrate Simchat Torah tomorrow night and on Monday morning. Today, I would like to focus on the original meaning, not on the meaning that rabbis invented and attributed the Torah reading cycle, completion of the Torah reading cycle. Let's look at the original meaning. So the only thing we know about this day is that it's supposed to be an Atzeret. What is Atzeret? Rashi interprets the word Atzeret as deriving from the root atzar, meaning to pause or to hold back, and explains it using parable. He writes, it's similar to the case of a king who invited his children to a banquet for a certain number of days. When the time arrived for them to take their departure, he said, children, I beg you, stay 1 more day with me. It is so hard for me to depart from you. The Jewish people just spent the entire high holiday season praying, gathering, and studying together, and are about to return to normal life. According to Rashi, the French medieval commentator, Shmini Atzeret is 1 more day of the high holidays after they finished and before going back to business as usual, to normal life. Using a modern example, it is an after party. It's as if your religion says to people, please, stay with me for 1 more day. And to be honest, as a rabbi, it's so nice to see synagogue filled with people. On Yom Kippur, on Rosh Hashanah, we have several hundred people, certainly more than 500 people sitting here. It's so nice. And yes, you do want to say, please stay for one more day. You know, that Judaism doesn't end on Yom Kippur. This is the similar what Rashi says, how Rashi interprets Shmini Atzeret. It's just, please stay for one more day. In the Babylonian Talmud, the tractate Ta'anit, Rabbi Eliezer derived meaning from Arba Minim of this day, 4 species that we use in Sukkot. He said, just as these 4 species cannot exist without water, as they need water to grow, so too the world cannot exist without water. So 4 species suddenly become a symbol of water, and not symbol of joy in nature, but very specific symbol of water. It might sound ironic, I know, ironic to pray for water in the UK, the country that's surrounded by the sea and where everybody complains about how much it rains, but you need to understand this Talmudic passage from the perspective of ancient Israel. Israeli agriculture heavily depends on rains. Even today, we're not even talking about how it was in the past. And the rain comes only seasonally. If there is no rain, no food will grow next year. Therefore, Jewish prayers for rain are historically extremely important. And Shmini Atzeret became the time when Jews prayed for a blessing of rain. Yes, I know, every time you see rain now, you should know that it's a blessing. In the Middle East, the rainy season begins just after the high holidays. Because of that, and because the Sukkah is no longer required after 7 days of Sukkot, Jews begin to ask for rain in their prayers, starting with the afternoon Amidah of Shmini Atzeret. A brief mention of rain continues to be inserted in the Amidah until Passover. So in the liberal prayer book, this change is invisible. We don't see this change in the prayer. In the second blessing of Amidah, we liberal Jews say this: Mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, mazriach hashemesh u'morid hatal. You cause the wind to blow and the rain to fall, the sun to shine and the dew to descend. Our liturgy combines both winter and summer prayer in one. It reflects all seasons. Therefore, we make no changes in the Amidah during the year. However, if you come to a Reform, Masorti, or Orthodox synagogue, this line will be different, and it will depend on the season. So, in winter months, so from Shmini Atzeret to Pesach, we say, Mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, exactly the same line as the first line of our version. You cause wind to blow and rain to fall. This is the winter prayer. But in summer months, from Pesach until Shmini Atzeret, we say different things. We say morid hatal. They're causing the dew to descend. Mishnah Rosh Hashanah says, at 4 seasons, at 4 times in the year, the world is judged, and you will recognize some of it. On Passover, judgment is passed concerning grain, because this is the time of grain harvest. On Shavuot, concerning fruits that grow on the tree. On Rosh Hashanah, and we just had it, all creatures passed before God like sheep. And on the festival, well, meaning that we have to see ourselves as seen by God, all our actions. And on the festival of Sukkot, they are judged concerning water, i.e., the rainfall of the coming year. The Mishnah has an important message and reminder. People depend on nature. Rain is important, and however advanced our technology is, or economy, we cannot survive without a simple thing as rain. This simple but important message is embedded in the liturgical cycle, and Shmini Atzeret became the time for us to acknowledge it. In my view, we can extend this connection much further. Today we know that rain and other natural phenomena are connected. Everything is connected. Nature is stronger than any government. It cannot be bribed, and its issues and challenges cannot be solved quickly. If there is something wrong with the nature, there is nothing that can stop it. Therefore, the festival of Sukkot, on a philosophical level, is a reminder that anything we possess is not permanent. And one day it can disappear. We enjoy life on Sukkot. We dance with scrolls on Simchat Torah. But deep inside, we must know that we are vulnerable. We are small and insignificant compared to natural forces. There is a Hasidic story about a Jewish person asking his rabbi before Sukkot to grant him a blessing that he might have an exceptionally fine lulav and etrog this year. The rabbi replied, what you really need for Sukkot is a kind heart, humble spirit, and truthful mind, and the will to perfect yourself. After you have attained these, it will be time to concern yourself regarding an exceptionally fine set of symbols, of species for Sukkot. We often speak of our achievements, our ambitions and plans for a better future, but none of it is possible without the most basic part, living in harmony with nature and with each other. We speak about growth and being significant in the world, but none of this matters if there are many people around you who cannot afford food and shelter. This is why Sukkot is traditionally associated with universal ideas. We invite guests to our Sukkah, emphasize that our festival are for all peoples, all, Jews and non-Jews, young and old, poor and rich. In my view, religions became too particularistic and concerned too much about themselves. There is not enough emphasis on universal values, on the fact that we are more connected and interdependent with each other than we wish we were. I think this is why there is a tendency that for fewer people to feel connected to their religion, and more people find religion irrelevant. We need to be more universal and outward-looking. There is no need to give people false hope that we know exactly how to live their life. There are too many uncertainties in the world, and the world changes too quickly. We can only try to find it together, to find the way together. Reflecting on this, on the sense of uncertainty, German poet and novelist Hermann Hesse wrote in his 1919 letter to a young German the following: "You write me that you are in despair and don't know what to believe, what to hope. You don't know whether or not there is a God. You don't know whether or not life has any meaning, whether or not love of country has a meaning, whether in the wretched condition of the world it is better to strive for spiritual goods or merely to fill your belly. I believe your state of mind and soul to be exactly the right one. Not to know whether there is God, not to know whether there is a good and evil, is far, far better than to know for sure." As we contemplate these high holidays, this high holiday season, and about to have our last Kiddush in our Sukkah, let's embrace and accept our own vulnerability and uncertainty of this world, acknowledge our insignificance as individuals, and remember that we are a part of a big and strong humanity. Let us hope for a better future and do our best to achieve it, but we can only do it together. מועדים לשמחה.